So hello you guys and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is one that I am so excited for. I'm a big fan of horror, yeah. Big lover of all things scary, spooky and gross, yeah. But I find with modern horror they can be very hit or miss, right? And there's been a few horrors throughout the years in modern time that have really caught my attention, far and few between. But one that gripped me and that I have loved through every single rewatch was Barbarian. Today's guest is the delightful Georgina Campbell. Oh my god, what a sweetheart. So she plays Tess in Barbarian alongside Bill Skarsgård, who plays Keith. If you've seen the film, you know this movie is insane with the plot twists and all the different roads it takes you down. I loved it. It was an absolute delight to get to pick her brain about like what the set was like, what was your thoughts reading the script, all the things that I always want to know. Like, I am a lover of all things horror, film, TV show, all that fun stuff. But where my true like passion jumps out and like hits you in the face is when I get to speak to people and ask them like on a deeper level things that you might know as a regular viewer of a show or a film. So these videos are my absolute favourite type of content to create, and I just know how lucky I am when somebody agrees to sit down and talk and take time out of their day, because time is the most precious thing that we have. So a big thank you to Georgina for sitting down with me and talking and sharing some stories and fun, really fun behind the scenes moments with me and with us. As always, I'm filming this intro after I do the actual interview. I swear to God, my room is out to get me. Yesterday I was in the middle of doing an interview and all my lights turned off. Today I was in the middle of doing an interview and my haunted Mandalorian doll started going off, and I'm sitting there sweating thinking, please God, tell me she can't hear that. Fucking Pedro Pascal in my background going, Grogu, Grogu. This little fucker down here, haunted as all hell. He talks at random points of the day. I'm cool with that. I'm used to him. Other people might not be. I don't think she heard it, but I was like, oh God, please stop. And then I was thinking, how am I going to subtly get the doll out of the room without her noticing? So yeah, here is my interview with Georgina.
We do the whole thing and then it's like, fuck, we didn't record it.
Stop, it's a fear that I have every time. So before we get into talking about all of your projects, I'd love to know where it all began for you and where you realized that this was a career you wanted to pursue.
Well, it was like a strange way that I got into acting. I got spotted on the street when I was 15. So I'd done like little school plays and things like that when I was younger. Usually I'd get like one line. It was never something that I was particularly thought I would think about as a career. But then I got this like little job on MySpace. It was like a MySpace online series.
My
That's how old it was. And and then I got an agent, and then I just started like doing little jobs here and there. Like I did like Casualty and like Holby City and like all the kind of things that you do in the UK when you first start. Um, and then slowly I kind of realized that I liked it and that I was good at it. I was quite shy when I was younger, so it was really hard. Like when I first started going to auditions, I was like absolutely terrified. I had one audition for it was Doctor Who, and I went in and I cried through the whole audition.
Oh, from
I was
nerves?
oh my God, I was like 16 or something. And I think I just got like really overwhelmed, started crying, couldn't pull myself back. And they were kind of like, oh, okay, like, well done.
I'm sorry for laughing. That's horrible.
No, it's ridiculous. They were like, we'll be in touch. So it was definitely a slow kind of uh, realization and understanding, and then I would say that once I kind of got into my 20s and started working more and got more confident with it and figured it out, that I really grew to love it and started working more, and it became like a full-time job, and now here I am.
And were your friends and family supportive? Because it's an unusual profession.
Yeah, they were like very surprised. My mom especially, because I got oh wait, my cat is just wants to get out of the room. Yeah, my mom was kind of like she was horrified by the fact that I'd gone for this audition that I had kind of been spotted on the street, and she was like, you could have been sex trafficked, like God knows what could have happened. So yeah, she was sort of surprised by the whole thing. And because I was such a shy kid, she was like very surprised that it worked and that I ended up working a lot. And she was quite protective, but was supportive, and was kind of like, if you want to keep going, keep going. But she also was like not pushy.
Mm.
Um, and then my friends were just also, I think everyone was just kind of like, it was just like kind of strange. Everyone was just a bit like, what the hell's going on? And then just got used to it.
I mean, I guess when you took home, what was it, the BAFTA for a TV actress? I bet
Yeah.
you that put any doubt that anyone had to rest. It must have been
Yeah, that
crazy.
was pretty, yeah, wild.
There's no better, like, yeah, this is for me than something like that happening to you.
I know that was funny going back to my mom, because my mom, like before I went, was being very sweet and kind of giving me the speech of like, it's just nice to be nominated. Like if you don't get it, like don't be upset. Everything's going to be fine. And then when I got the award, I immediately, like after getting it, I had like a panic attack.
Mm.
And I used to get panic attacks a lot. So I was like having a panic attack. I called my mum from the bathroom, like mid panic attack, was like, oh my God. Ah. And the show's on a delay. So she hadn't realized that I'd won it yet. And she was watching the show. So she was like,
Oh.
get back to your seat. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And then I won on the TV while I was on the phone with her having a panic attack.
She must have
Having
been
just
so
won.
confused.
Yeah, so she was like, what the fuck is going on? So yeah, it was a very strange moment. No one really thought I was going to win. Like I didn't think I was going to win. My mum didn't think I was going to win. My agents didn't think I was going to win. My friends, everyone was like very happy and excited, but it was very surprising because I
Mm.
was still very early in my career and like no one knew who the hell I was. So yeah, it was a strange but amazing night.
So it reminds me of that episode of Friends. You know that episode of Friends where I think it's Rachel and Joey go to some awards and they're practicing their what is it? Their graceful
Yeah.
lost clap, or they're like, oh yeah.
Yes.
I can't imagine the intensity of a night like that. I suffer really bad still to this day from anxiety attacks. And just like you, my mother, God bless her, she's my number one caller. Anything happens, I'm on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah. She's the one.
But like with a lot of the roles that you've taken, they kind of have a common darkness to them, I suppose. What draws you to roles initially?
I think it's like a mixture of things. I think earlier on, obviously, you're kind of getting the roles that you get because you're not always in a position where you get to choose. You're auditioning and you're getting the roles that you are right for and that they choose for you. So I feel like I had a propensity for playing emotion. I think I was like a very emotional person. And the first role that I got that I was spotted for on the street was like a girl that was very shy and very awkward. And that worked because that's how I was. So I was kind of playing myself. And then I continued getting roles that were kind of highly emotional, which I was. So I was able to kind of tap into that emotion and kind of vulnerability and fragility. And then I think as that's gone on, those tend to be things that casting, I think of me for. Um, and then I feel like I enjoy playing those roles because usually they're interesting characters, they've got a lot going on. Usually they're written well and they're kind of dealing with big issues that you can kind of really get your teeth into. Um, and then recently, I guess it's been just scripts that I've liked specifically or directors that I've wanted to work with. That yeah, it's so hard because I feel like people are always like, what kind of draws you to things? And you're like, I don't know. You kind of just open the script and you're like, oh, I like this world. Or you meet with the director and you immediately have a spark and you're like, oh, I really like you. Like I really want to hang out with you and make something with you.
Mm.
So it's kind of like case by case, I feel like.
if we're talking about scripts and first impressions, good Jesus, I can't imagine what it was like getting the script for Barbarian.
Yeah.
Because talk about twists. Listen, I sat down to watch this thinking it's going to be a straightforward thriller. I think I saw it the day it hit streaming, like literally the year it came out. I'd heard that it was coming out, and I was like, oh, I'll keep that bookmarked. And I was like, it's going to be straightforward horror thriller. I like that. The funny thing is, I think the first 45 minutes had me so stressed, like hands sweating, can't breathe. And the horror
Mhm.
hadn't even started yet. So when you got the script, how like how did you even visualize how that would look on screen? Because it must have been mental to read.
Yeah, it was. I got the script through my American agent, and he kind of just randomly kind of sent it over and was like, take a look at this. He didn't really say anything else. He just sent the script. Um, and then I started reading it, and it was like written really well immediately, was the first thing that it was like very well written. All that dialogue at the beginning between Keith and Tess was just really well written. And you are like at the beginning, you're kind of trying to figure out, you're like, what's going on? And you feel like you know where it's going, which
Yeah.
is so smart on Zach's part that you're like, okay, something's going on with Keith. Like, what's he doing? And then suddenly Mother comes out, and then suddenly you're with AJ and you're like in a completely different movie, and you're like, wait, what the heck? Where are we? Like, when are we going to come back? Like, what happened to Tess? Um, and then it turns into this kind of like layered film where you're kind of going from different time zones to different characters, and it all kind of ends up clumping back together at the end. But I just loved it. I thought it was so original, and I thought it was really funny as well. The tone of it, I just really loved. I loved that ending sequence when it got to the ending and AJ throws her off the tower. I remember being like, oh my God, like this film's insane. But then going back and AJ coming back and being like, I don't know what happened. Like, come on, get up. I just thought it was really funny and weird and dealing with really interesting things. And then meeting with Zach and speaking to him, and he had just such a clear hold and grasp on it. And then I didn't know his background as well, because my boyfriend, as soon as I told him about the script and then told him Zach Kreger wrote it, he was like, oh my God, he's from the Whitest Kids You Know, and I loved them, and they're like this comedy troupe. And then that made sense of like why it was so funny. And then that made me kind of like want to do it even more, because I was like, oh, he's really going to be able to like tweak out those kind of comedy moments and make it so that it has that balance of the horror elements, but also those like little comedy light moments that I love when horror can kind of put those two things together. So it just seemed like a no-brainer. Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing that I love is I like I said, I really did love the first, I think it's the first 45, 50 minutes where it is all just based on Keith and Tess. Because like you said, as a woman, because I watched it with my boyfriend, and as a woman,
Mm.
I'm there. hmm It's him or
Yeah.
him. My boyfriend was like, he seems okay. Like, yeah, be guarded. But I'm there, oh no, fuck him. It's him, definitely. And there was just so many, I mean, there was red flags everywhere as there's supposed to be. Um,
Yeah.
I think it was inspired by, was it The Gift of Fear? I think there was some
Yeah.
taken from.
Yeah, which I read. He told me to read it, and that was really interesting. All those kind of like little moments that it like there's lots of case studies in it of women who have kind of ended up being in like really terrible situations, but then looked back and said all these tiny moments that happened beforehand that they kind of went, oh no, like I'm going to be polite, or no, they
Mhm.
were probably doing something nice. I'm misreading it, but really, actually, their intuition was right.
Yeah.
And something strange was going on. And even if, as in this, it's like, well, Keith probably wasn't a bad guy. It's like maybe you should just listen to your intuition and like don't worry about, being unpolite. It's fine. Don't worry about that. Like care about yourself.
Yeah. And like, I think the red flags, they were so funny as well because he was struggling so hard, which is what made it worse. Like the wine scene where he's like, I put down some wine and like, I was going to wait for you to come out because like, and I remember I laughed and I felt bad for laughing. It's that comedic element, but I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I see what he's doing and I still don't trust him. But for you and for Bill, how did you navigate those scenes? Because the awkwardness was just so delightful between the two of you in the beginning.
Yeah, I think it was we obviously we didn't get to spend that much time together because obviously Bill is really busy. So he came in and he was just there for the first week of filming. So we shot out everything from the beginning. We did right at the beginning. So we kind of got to play with the fact that we actually really didn't know each other. So we came onto set and it played out as it does, where we didn't know each other. We were kind of figuring each other out as we were filming. And then we did get to know each other over the week. So I feel like it almost happened in real time that we also became kind of friends as we were filming and got to know each other. And because we were filming in sequence, we really did do those beginning scenes at the beginning where we didn't know each other. It was awkward. It was a bit like, hi, around set, like,
Yeah.
and then by the end we knew each other and we've done those like cutesy scenes of like drinking wine and getting to know each other and having the chemistry and all that stuff. And he's such an amazing actor as well. It was like very easy to kind of slip into those scenes with him, and he's like very giving and very open, and he's also a producer on the film and was very involved and obviously wanted it to do well. And yeah, so it felt very easy. It was very, I mean, for me it was just like really exciting. It was Bill Skarsgård. I was like, oh my god, I get to do a scene with Bill Skarsgård, this is great. I was having the best time. So yeah, I had a great time.
And with the set then, I mean, because obviously there's the outside shots, the house, and then you're inside, there's the tunnels. Was it all
Yes.
a built set or was any of it like actual a house?
It was all built. It was all built. So the interior of the Airbnb was
Hmm.
all built, and then the tunnels were all like right next to like where the living room is and everything. So they built the tunnels, and then the tunnels kind of could shift. So you could move them around so that they could make them seem like they were like never ending. So they could move one part over here and then kind of like a jigsaw to kind of like keep moving them around. And then they would just like turn off all the lights in the sound stage so that it was like complete darkness once you went into the tunnels, which was kind of hilarious because the tunnels were built, they were really narrow. And once they were enclosed, you were just closed off in there. And then we were using like a phone as the light, and that literally was the light source. So you'd have like the whole of the crew in there, like the camera and the sound and the focus puller, and they'd all be like in a line, like shuffling through the tunnels. It was
They were
it
moving
was
backwards for most of it, weren't they?
yeah, going backwards. I mean, there's a sequence as well where Zach Cooperstein, who was the director of photography, he's doing like a POV shot of Mother chasing me,
Mm.
and he's running like full speed, holding the camera after me. And that was like one of the most terrifying shots because he's got this really heavy camera and he was like running so fast. I was God, if you fall over, like you could break that entire God knows how many $1,000 camera. But he's very good, so he was fine.
And the walls of the tunnel too probably would have gone down.
Yeah, true.
Please, no pressure. But one thing I really liked about this, and you touched on it a while ago, was the idea of like the monster or the villain. When you
Mm.
first go into it, you think it's Keith. Then you meet the asshole that is AJ. Then you're
Yeah,
introduced to Mother, and then there's Mother's abuser. It keeps kind of shifting point of view or focus. But if we're talking strictly like visual horror and what the monster is, what was it like working with Mother in real life? I mean, was it like a full bodysuit? Was it prosthetics?
yeah. So it was Matthew who was the mother, and he was wearing he was in like full prosthetics. So he was very tall. He was, God, I don't know how tall he was, 6 foot something, 6 foot like seven or something crazy.
Yeah.
But he had all kind of prosthetics all over his face and fake teeth and the hair, and um he was we tried at the beginning to kind of be like, oh, let's see if we can do it so that like I don't really see him or we don't see him before we see him in the scene. But it was a bit difficult because obviously doing that's quite hard sometimes because it's like the other actor is also like, around and needs to kind of prepare and be on set and figure out the blocking and all those different things. So in the end, it's like whatever. Uh, but yeah, he looked incredible and did so much work beforehand to get the characteristics and the way Mother moves. And yeah, really terrifying once he like dropped into Mother, but then would just be, himself. And he's not.
I can't imagine sitting at catering going, he's sitting next to you,
I
supping out of the
know. It's
coffee.
like that all day long, bless him.
Obviously, it's a horror. There's some lighthearted moments, there's some funny moments, but it's very heavy at certain points as well. And there's some serious, like hit you in the gut moments.
Yeah.
Like I think one of them for me, it wasn't even one of the scarier scenes. It's just the scene where Tess is she's trying to get the police to come with her, and like they're not
Mhm.
believing her. And then when they get to the door, they're looking at her like you're crazy. That's nightmare fuel, in my opinion, especially like as a woman, not being listened to,
Mm.
not being heard. But working on a film like this, how do you decompress either in between shots or after filming?
This one was really interesting because my boyfriend was there for most of filming, which was really nice. He's not always, but this one he managed to come out. We were filming in Bulgaria, so he came out and he just stayed for the whole shoot, which was so cool. And he works in the industry as well, and he really loves Zach, and he was really interested in the film, so he ended up coming to set. He ended up being in the credits. He got a thank you in the credits, which was like amazing because he really did feel like he was part of the crew because he was just there every day. He stayed with us, like he stayed for the really long days through all of shooting, which is, can be really laborious and long. So that was really nice because it meant that I was going home with him, and on days off, we were spending time together. So it felt like I had someone from home. It felt like that little bit of home was with me all the time.
Mm.
So that made it very easy to decompress and be around my boyfriend and be able to chat and have normal life and everything. But within set life as well, I feel like Zach Kreger and everyone that was like working on the job, the producers, some of the actors as well. Matthew Patrick Davis, who played Mother. I'm like so bad with last names. I'm like, it's come to me. Um, we all played games a lot. So we played Catan, we played code names, we just played lots of board games. We were always playing board games. So that was like a really nice way that we all spent time together and like decompressed and um yeah, we just kind of like hung out. So that was nice. Apart from that, we were doing lots of night shoots. So I feel like that kind of we would get to work at like 6 p.m. and then we would leave at 7 a.m. and then you just kind of like sleep through the day and then you go straight back to work. So a lot of time was just spent sleeping, really.
You were playing board games like in between takes to relax. So you and mother were just sitting down.
No, we would play board
Monopoly.
games like back at the hotel or like on the weekends or
Oh,
days off. Yeah, no, people were like working.
I was like
There was
between
no time
takes.
for board games on set.
Gotcha. Yeah, I imagine
Yeah,
that would have killed the immersion of the
can you
vibe.
imagine?
Um, the end then of Barbarian, it was just twist after twist. I mean, you have, like you said, wasn't it AJ pushed Tess, and then Mother saves Tess, and then is it Mother kills AJ, and then Tess kills Mother?
Yeah, mother kills AJ, Tess kills mother.
Yeah. The end of that, the symbolism of Tess having to be the one to put Mother down, and there is that moment of tenderness between the two of them, and there was a hot second I thought, I don't think she's gonna kill her. I loved it. What was your interpretation of the ending?
Yeah, I mean, we had lots of conversations with Zach, um, and I feel like it was obviously that you kind of throughout the film realized that Mother is not the monster. She's not the barbarian. She's been created down there and she is a victim
Mm.
of these men and this horror that's happened to her and her mother and whoever before her in this basement. Um, and that really, in that ending moment, she's trying to protect Tess, and Tess is kind of forced to do this because Mother's going to take her back because Mother doesn't know how else to live. So Mother would take her back to the basement. That is where it would go.
Mm.
And that cycle would continue because there is no way really of breaking Mother out of that cycle now. So the cycle has to end with Tess and with Tess killing Mother. But there being that feeling of sadness and grief and the acknowledgement that that Mother isn't evil and that evil is created and that these situations are made. Um, so I feel like, yeah, I feel like it's a really beautiful moment and that Matthew did this beautiful performance and that you really see it all in his face and his eyes. And I think the message is kind of all there and Zach kind of spells it out very well. And it is so sad. It's so horrible to watch. But it's kind of, yeah, it's too late. It's too late to save Mother at that point. There's no way of kind of rehabilitating her and bringing her into the world. Like she's too far gone.
And like you said, it is so sad. And then there's the jarring cut to Be My Baby. Be My Baby,
Yeah.
the credits, which that was always one
Yeah.
of my favorite songs. I don't think I'll ever listen to it the same ever again. But recently as well, that was in I think that played at the end of Apartment 7A, which is the prequel to Rosemary's Baby.
Oh
That song
yeah, I haven't seen that yet. I really want to see it.
is so good. It's so good. But the song and the obviously Be My Baby. You've the idea of femininity and motherhood. What do you think it is about those topics that is it's usually such a pure and beautiful thing, but that works so well in horror?
Oh, I guess I suppose in this case, in motherhood and everything, I think there's just like so much trauma to work with in family. I think if you look back in families, there's so much trauma. There's so much that I feel like there's a lot in like haunted houses. That's something that comes up in horror a lot. That houses hold trauma, that the family holds trauma, that it all is kind of like seeped inside where things are hidden. And then I think within a kind of nuclear family, if you're looking at gender politics, then you're looking at like male and female and the traumas between men and women. Um, yeah, I think there's a lot to kind of play with there.
And there's something very unnerving about it. And the way it was portrayed, especially in this, it just I'm not
So,
just saying it, it truly is probably one of the best modern horrors I've seen, and it had me hooked from the get-go. But what was one of your favorite reviews that you heard or read, be it from family, friends, or like an online media?
oh my God, I'm trying to remember. It's been such a while. Everything was so nice, which I well, actually, it was funny because it was like I think critically it went down pretty well, but I remember like seeing some of the like Rotten Tomatoes, and I feel like it's quite mixed actually. Some people really love it, and some people really hate it, which is quite fun. I think some people really, especially the switch to Justin, some people I think found really hard, which I remember when we were filming it. Um, that being something that a lot of us on set really loved. But hearing that when Zach was shopping the script around and trying to get it made, a lot of people didn't like that and were kind of like, that doesn't really work. We don't really want a film that suddenly you're skipping from the main character to this completely different person in a completely different way. And it's very confusing.
Mm.
Um, so I found it interesting seeing how that like polarized people. I'm trying to think. My mum really liked it, which was funny because it's such a wild film. And I went to see it with my mum in the UK. We went to see it in like an Odeon, and I think there was only there was probably like four other people in there, and we went and watched it, and she loved it, and she was really into it, which I was so surprised. And the credits came up, and she was like, "Imagine if they knew you were in here." Like the
Did
four other
nobody
people that
cop
were
it?
there. Like,
Nobody copped
what?
it to you?
No one copped I was there. Um, but yeah, I was kind of, yeah. And I think my dad's review probably was my best, like funniest, because I don't know if it was his cup of tea. And he just was like, sent me a message that said, I went to see Barbarian. And that was it.
Oh, I would have to ring him and be like, yeah, what did you mean by that?
I was like,
Elaborate.
thumbs up. Thanks for showing up. But I kind of knew it wouldn't be his cup of tea. It's not everyone's cup of tea.
That's a typical dad thing, though. They're men of
I
few
know.
words. They really are. It's funny, though, that like the idea of switching to AJ's point of view was unpopular because I feel like it really worked. It's the first point in the film where I realized, yeah, I have no fucking idea where this is gonna go.
I know. Yeah, it's great. I love it. And Justin Long is so fantastic in it and brings such a different energy to that part of the film. It's great. It's such a hard cut.
Yeah, I thought it worked really well. But jump into one of your newer projects then, The Watchers. I don't know if I'm wrong about this. I know that I think principal photography took place in Ireland. Was it shot here?
Yes, yeah, it was.
No way.
Yeah.
Whereabouts? Dublin, probably, was it?
Yes, yeah. It was shot just outside of Dublin. It was, oh my God, I can't remember now. We were at like a couple of different studios. But yes, it was just outside of Dublin.
And how did you find filming here? Was it on sound stages again, or was it like in the elements?
It was on sound stages, and then we also shot in some woods. We shot in a couple of different woods. Again, I cannot remember. I know that it was around Dublin.
Yeah.
Um, but no, it was really nice. I've shot in Ireland before. It was lovely. It was cold. It was a bit rainy out in
Aren't
the
we
woods.
always? It's literally raining outside as we're talking. I'm praying my
But,
power doesn't flicker.
oh.
But what was the experience like working on that? I mean, Jesus, one hell of a lineup.
Yes, yeah. It was great. It was so amazing working with Ashana Knight on her first film. She's so incredible, and like we had such a lovely meeting when we were first discussing the role, and she's just so assured. And like for her first feature, she kind of came in just so smart and so ready, and I don't know. I just think it looks so beautiful. Like she really is very good visually at visual storytelling. Um, and then obviously working with Dakota Fanning, like I've been such a fan of hers for years. And uh yeah, it was a really lovely time. It was like a lovely ensemble, and we all got to know each other really well and got to kind of run around in the woods. Got cold in the woods. But it was really fun. We had a great time.
How long did that take to shoot?
I think it was about 2 months, something like that. Yeah,
That's
I
super
think
quick.
that. Yeah, yeah, it was pretty quick. Yeah.
And again, with twists, the twist coming, I don't want to give anything away, but the twist being centered in mythology, we'll say.
Hmm.
Yeah. Again, kind of, I mean, I did kind of twig it just because of where I'm from. I'm from Ireland and, stories that I would have grown up on.
Yeah,
In terms of twists and things like that, it was kind of similar to Barbarian, where if you didn't know what you're looking for, you probably wouldn't have seen it coming.
yeah, yeah.
How did you find it, like, that worked?
The twist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it worked. I don't know. I mean, from reading the book, it feels like I remember reading the book and really kind of being surprised at that ending and being like, oh, and kind of looking back and seeing all those like little moments that kind of tip its hat to that being the ending.
Mm.
And I feel like Ishana also kind of tries to weave those through the film, which is a lot shorter than the book, so you don't have as much time really to kind of actually, put it in as much. But I also think the kind of performance lends itself to hopefully that twist landing at the end. But it's also I feel like it's kind of a soft twist. So I feel like the kind of the M. Night Shyamalan, like you're obviously always like waiting for the kind of
Yeah.
the twist. Whereas I feel like this is kind of like it's a soft, it's a soft twist. It's not too much of a like crazy, like outlandish. Yeah.
I don't know if you heard that. There's a figure in my background, like an animatronic
Oh,
going off talking. Will
no, no.
it didn't come up on mic?
No, I didn't hear it.
But you brought up reading the book, and for you, especially with like being an actress, do you find it hard when there is source material because you're reading the book and then you're trying to adapt to the script? Do you find it hard separating the two?
No, I really liked reading the book, or like when there is a script and there's a book
Mm.
attached. I just did a film last year called Cold Storage by David Koepp, and David Koepp wrote the script, but he also has a book that he wrote. So that was amazing because it just gives you so much more of the world, and you have more description of the character, and it's kind of like you can take what you want from it. You don't have to use all of it. You don't have to use any of it if you don't want to. But it's always nice to have more, to be able to look at something and delve deeper into it and have more of a backstory and have more of an understanding of a character and have more of the story to use at your disposal if you want to when you're preparing for the role or preparing for the character. So I really liked that there was a book, and I read the script and then I read the book, and then kind of discussed everything with Ishana. And she stayed pretty close to the book when she was adapting. She kind of drifted here and there, but it's pretty close to the book. So I feel like she used the book as well a lot. It was like everyone was interested in the books, the source material. Yeah.
I think it was very well balanced in terms of taking from the book and staying close, but putting small flavors here and there that were different,
Yeah.
which I always love with adaptations from books or from novels. Before we go, because this is a Halloween special, I have to ask you some Halloween centered questions.
Mhm.
Well, first of all, you do like horror and Halloween, right?
Yes.
We're off to a great
I
start.
do. Thank
What,
God.
what's one of your favorite Halloween films to watch?
Halloween film that I love to watch. I actually really like ghost stories. Um, the film with it's got Martin Freeman in. It came out in like 2017. And it was a theatre production first, which I saw the theatre production afterwards, actually, a few years ago. It came back round. And I really love that film. I think it's fantastic. And I like weirdly, I think I saw it in the cinemas like 3 times, which is a bit
Really?
much. Yes.
It's funny you bring that up because I just saw that film like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I love Martin Freeman. I thought it was an incredible performance.
Yeah. Yeah, I really love that movie. Um, and then I really love the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I love that film, and it's just so disturbing. Like the family dinner scene is like one of the most disturbing, like
Yeah.
disgusting sequences. It's so horrifying. And I always feel like I kind of go back to Saw. Like the first two Saws, I really love. I think they're great. I just went to see the last Saw that came out in the cinemas.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that many of the newer Saws, but for some reason I was like to my boyfriend, I was like, why don't we go and see the new Saw that's in
Oh,
cinemas? I know. He was like, really? And I was like, it'll be fun. Don't you remember when we were like younger and we would go and watch Saw movies when you were like 18 or whatever? And he was like, I mean, okay, if you really want to. And we went and I was like disgusted. I was like, I couldn't like open my eyes. I was like, oh, I didn't realize how far the Saw franchise has gone. It was so horrifying, like the sounds,
Yeah.
yeah. I might have outgrown Saw now, but the first two Saws I still really like.
Great date night idea. Go to see a film in a franchise where you've missed the last six movies. What the fuck? It's funny though that you bring up Saw as well because yesterday I was just talking to Frankie who played Xavier in the second Saw. He's the
Oh,
he's the really tall guy who he throws your one into the pit full of needles. He's one of the lads in
yes,
the
yes, yes,
house.
yes.
Oh, absolute sweetheart. We were talking all things Saw, and we were saying it as well, how back then it was like that the gore, you hadn't really seen anything like it. It was shocking and it was like you said, you're
Yeah,
18, 19 going to see it, and you think you're like hot shit, like I can handle this.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a lot worse now. I feel like the newer films are like
I think the most recent one I
wash my brain.
saw was Seven, I think.
Mm.
Chester from Lincoln Park had a role in it.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's a while ago now. Yeah.
Yeah. And my mom,
Mm.
big fan of Lincoln Park. So we went to the cinema and we were like, we'll be good. And my mom, bless her, she hates horror. And I was like, well, mom, it's just gore. Like you can cover your eyes. And she was there, I can't cover my eyes and my ears at the same time. Horrendous. But yeah, we were talking about Be My Baby a while ago. Is there any particular songs that you love listening to around Halloween time that isn't things like the Monster Mash or Ghostbusters?
Oh my God. I can't really think of Halloween songs. I mean, I like A Nightmare Before Christmas, like around the kind of Halloween Christmas time. Don't pull that face at me.
I love it. I love that shit.
I thought I saw
I
a
don't think
look
you can
of
see. I literally have Corpse Bride and Nightmare stuff all in my background.
okay, okay,
I
good.
am not hating.
That I can go for some of the music from that. I can't think of anything else that I would like listen to that's like a Halloween kind of song. Yeah.
And as a kid, then, do you have any memories that stand out from trick-or-treating or like a sick costume?
As a kid, not really. I feel like my mum was never really into Halloween when we were younger. So we never like really went trick-or-treating with my mum. And she was like one of those like awful people that would be like, turn the lights off when the trick-or-treaters come. Pretend we're
No.
not in. So,
It's funny though, because like when I was younger, it's the same thing. It was like we didn't really get trick-or-treaters a lot ever. And I was the freak that would be waiting by the door with the bowl, like waiting, and they never. But
oh,
I just don't think back then for us, I don't think it was that big of a deal in like the UK and Ireland.
no. No, really not, really not. Sometimes at my parents aren't together. Sometimes at my dad's, I feel like once my little sister's like 7 years younger than me.
Hmm.
So when she came along, I think Halloween was like going a bit more. So I remember there being like we did a bit more Halloweeny stuff when she was around. And I remember that being kind of fun when she was little and like doing decorations and things and
Yeah.
um kids coming around to my dad's place. So I remember that being fun. But I can't really remember as a kid like really dressing up or doing anything for Halloween. But I don't know. My parents will probably hear this and be like, she's lying.
You
We
didn't
did
tell
do
her about the time I made you a costume.
it. Exactly.
It's the same though for me because my brother, he's 8 years younger than me, and like it wasn't that big of a deal anywhere in shops or anything. But once he got a bit older, suddenly there was like
Mm.
Halloween fairs and there was all things popping up, and I was like,
Yeah.
there was none of this when I was younger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I live in America and it's like so massive over here and everyone like decorates their houses outside. Like yeah, it's such a big thing over here. I feel like in the UK it's not as big. It's
Yeah,
much bigger.
definitely. You
Yeah.
should totally, totally, totally dress up as yourself one year. Dress up as a past
Oh my
character.
God, that's the most embarrassing
You
thing.
so
I could
should.
not do that.
With the right attitude, you could. You could lean into it. I'm sure you kept something from a
So
set somewhere.
cringe. I would die.
But go on. I've kept you long enough, Georgina. Thank you so much for sitting and for talking. It was been an absolute delight getting to speak with you.
Oh, thank you. That was great.
Absolutely. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I know you guys are like 8 hours behind me, so whenever you get up to, I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you too have a nice evening.
And that is it for the interview. Again, huge thank you to Georgina for sitting and talking and trusting me. I will link all of Georgina's socials down below, of course. Twitter, Instagram, anywhere that you can find her will be linked in the description if you want to go follow her. I would suggest that you do. Again, she's a fucking delight. Why wouldn't you? As always, keep your eyes peeled over the next few days, few weeks, because I have a few more of these videos popping up for you guys that I'm so excited for. You know what's funny is I've always been obsessed with horror, and I've been making videos at content creation for like years now. Years, like 7 or 8 years. And this is the first year that I was like, hey, why don't I try to like put together a series or something? I don't know. You know, if I had a brain, it'd be dangerous. I always say that about myself. But I'm having an absolute blast going through this. It's so much fun getting to talk to all these brilliant brains and minds and talent. And I'm living. I'm living. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, I can't say thank you enough. I cannot say thank you enough to this delightful, gorgeous woman. Thank you a million times to Georgina. Everything's linked below. Anywhere that you may want to find her. I've linked all my socials as well. Should you want to, I don't know, come look at my big head on other platforms. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you all soon.